Hi there, I'm Chelsea from Chelsea Hickey Photography, and I'm here today to take you through the things that I bring with me to every in-home newborn session. So I specialize in-home newborn sessions. I've been doing them for about a decade, and my clients really love the fact that I come to them, they don't have to travel with the baby, and that we are able to capture really authentic moments within their home. So it does require me bringing everything with me, and I have a pretty solid checklist that I take every time so that I have things just in case and things that I always use. And I had someone on here ask me recently if I could go through all of those things that I bring along with me. So I am here to do that today. So let's start with gear. So obviously I bring my camera. I actually bring two cameras because I am a paranoid person and I'm always worried that we may lose a battery or have some sort of malfunction. So I have two cameras with me, and because I have two cameras, I typically will have a different lens on each camera. So for me, I like a 35mm on one and my 24-70 on the other. This allows me to get really nice details with my 35 and then to be able to take wide shots of the room with my 24-70. So I go back and forth throughout the shoot, but those are that's the camera equipment that I bring along. In terms of lighting, it all kind of depends on the client's home. So some people have bright homes, some people don't. I always visit the home in advance, so I know what to expect before going in. But even so, I still bring lighting with me in case of a darker scenario, because I have had situations where it's been a really gloomy, rainy day and we're just not getting the light that we need in there. And so I like to always have backup equipment with me when I go. So let me just show you a little bit of the lighting gear that I bring. So I always bring a on-camera flash. I use it in darker rooms. Sometimes the nursery, if we're shooting closer to the crib, is darker. They don't usually put the crib near a window. Sometimes living rooms are darker, and I like to just bounce the light off the ceiling or one of the walls to just kind of get an overall brightness. I don't like to use it to make any real dramatic shadows or to make it look like a flash. I prefer it to mimic more of a window light or just a general ambient light. But if we're having trouble with a darker space, I will just pop it on quick to make sure that I'm getting quality in the pictures and not too much grain. So I always have this with me. I usually carry it around the house kind of as we go. If I know we're moving to a darker room, I'll grab it and bring it with me and pop it on if I need it quickly. Another benefit is that if you are wanting to do off-camera flash and you have your trigger with you, you can use that as well. So as long as you brought a softbox or something like that, you can always get fancy and do some off-camera flash work as well if you prefer. I used to do quite a bit of that. I do like the look of it. I just find lately that I've been getting maybe a little bit more lazy and I don't do it as often. But if there's a moment that seems like it would lend itself nicely to, I will set that up. But the other option that I more typically bring is a constant light. I don't have it right here to show you because I'm using it to light myself right now, but I use a Flashpoint. What is it? A Flashpoint Explore. And so there are positive and negative attributes to that. I like a constant light because, first of all, it's easy to tell what's going on. I don't have to worry about setting flash settings and doing a lot of trial and error while the family's sitting there on the couch waiting with a baby. And also a lot of times the flash bothers, especially if there are toddlers involved, the flash bothers kids. They get distracted by it, they get scared of it. It's kind of been an issue before, so I like to have the constant light just as my go-to so that I can avoid any of those situations. And so I will bring that, I'll set it up. I bring a tripod with me for that. And then I always bring an extension cord because the plugs are all over the place when we're in these homes. I don't know where anything's gonna be. The con to that is that it does create a tripping hazard. Sometimes it's awkward to move it around. When we're going upstairs to downstairs, I have to lug the whole thing up and replug it in. It's just kind of what it is. Sometimes I will pick the spot that I think will benefit most from that lighting, like if it's the living room, for instance, and get it all set up, and then I'll just bring my on-camera flash for the rest. So it's really personal preference and the scenario that you're working with, and you can just figure it out and what's gonna lend itself to the nicest pictures. I also always bring a softbox. Lately, I've been liking this one a lot, this balloon. It just kind of, illuminates the whole space. It doesn't make anything too harsh, and then I bring a tripod as well. And this is also easy to travel with and folds up nicely. Sometimes I bring like sort of a medium-sized umbrella. Again, it's makes nice pictures, but it's trickier in the space. So when I'm trying to move through doorways and maneuver around and there's people everywhere, you know, sometimes it's just not really practical to have a big umbrella. So I like that balloon softbox just for its practicality. So that is basically the gear that I bring along with me. And next, let's go ahead and move on to the props. Oh, one other item I did not mention was my stepladder. So I always put in a stepladder. I just throw it in the trunk of my car. I don't always bring it into the home with me, but I do like to have it just in case we're in a situation where I like to get above people. Typically I can find something in their house to stand on, and I always ask permission, make sure I'm not gonna break anything or break myself. But if I don't have that option, I like to be able to run out to the car to get it, because I do a lot of overhead family shots if they're on the couch or on the bed, things like that, where I can just get a different perspective. So I just like to have it in case. So that is always in the trunk of my car. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the props that I bring. So generally speaking, I'm not super prop heavy. I prefer to create shots with authenticity and connection, and also to incorporate things that are already in the client's home. So if they have, you know, say a blanket that someone knitted for them, or, you know, a book that someone gave them, I'll usually look around the house and try to use those. Same thing goes for backdrops for my props that the baby's in, and I'll show you a couple of those in a second. But when I'm putting them down to photograph, I usually will try to incorporate pieces of the home. So I'll find a nice carpet maybe that complements the setup that I'm using, or, you know, different flooring. Sometimes I put it up on furniture if there's, you know, a nice fabric on the couch or a chair, nicer lighting near a window. So I really just try to use the space. It is kind of like a lot of flying by the seat of your pants, but just using what's available. And I find that people really do appreciate that, and when they're looking at the photos, they tend to feel a little bit more connection to them, because they are their own items and their own things, and things that they recognize and connect to. All right, so the things that I do bring with me though is that I will typically offer my clients 2 to 3 color setups to do details of the baby. And I will almost always start with the baby wrapped, and that way we're able to calm them down and get all the shots we need while they're sleepy or sleeping. And then if they want some more natural shots at the end, usually we'll take a break, feed the baby, and do some more natural shots. And there is another video on here that kind of covers all that. You can see a behind the scenes entire newborn session where you can kind of get the flow of that. But I meet with my clients in advance, so when I go in, I know the color setups that we're going to use. So I'll give you a little peek at my bag here. So as you can see, I have a lot of colors, a lot of options, a pretty big collection of items here. I bring all of this to my consultation before we do the shoot, and we go through all of the options together so that they can get an idea of what is available and pick what their preferences are. So typically how I will choose the colors is that I'll tell them, you know, to pick 2 or 3 colors they like, or we'll look at their home and things that match. We're also going to look at what they're wearing and what wrap is going to go best with the outfits they're wearing. So say the pink wrap went best with what they had on, but they also liked blue. I would start with the blue setup. I would wrap to the pink second. I would get the pink setup, and then the baby would be in pink to do the rest of the beginning of the session. So that's how the flow works in regards to the pieces themselves. But I have a number of wrap styles, I guess, different fabrics, but typically I will offer like this kind of gauze wrap. I have a lot of colors of that. I have a few things that are more knit. I don't know if that's focusing. And then I have some lacy things as well. But usually my, you know, colors kind of run the gamut with one type of fabric. So my gauze, for instance, I have quite a bit. So I have generally the full rainbow in earth tones of gauze, and then some different textures along the way. And then again, I let the clients pick their preference for that. So once we know what colors we're using, that's what I bring to the shoot. I do always bring my travel bag of all the stuff that I have that I brought to the consultation in case they change their mind last minute, because they have been known to do that. Or, you know, sometimes they change their whole outfits and now the color no longer goes with it, so we need to do a last minute switcheroo. Doesn't happen often, but typically I'll pack my bag that goes into the shoot with the colors that we discussed, but I will have everything else in the car as backup. The other item for wrapping that I always bring is the Swaddle Pro. I am not an affiliate of Swaddle Pro, but I love Swaddle Pro. This has really been a game changer. The baby pretty much always goes to sleep. Even if they're very wiggly, it's hard for them to wiggle their way out of here, and it just makes them very comfy cozy. So I do this first, and then I wrap on top of that. And I also always offer my clients a onesie option underneath. So when we're picking out these, when we're picking out the wraps, we also pick out onesies, and I have many, many different colors of these as well that I direct them to also pick something that will go with their outfits. And the idea behind that is that I wrap on top of the onesie because when we're done with the wrapped portion, we unwrap the baby, and I can usually get some nice stretching shots, and so usually the baby will need to eat at that point and be upset, and so we kind of take a break anyway, but sometimes they're not, and we can get some more, and it's nice to have them already wrapped. You do want to pay attention to any overheating issues. If you're doing these sessions in hot weather, you need to really dial back the number of layers that you're putting on the baby, so always opt for safety first. And again, depending on your style, you may have other kind of fabric options and things like that. I mean, this is your business, this is your vision. For me, I have a lot of textures, a lot of earth tones, a lot of neutrals. I like cozy shots. I like things that that are timeless. So that's kind of what is in my collection. And I try to get some unwrapped shots as well. A lot of parents like to have both. Again, it's trickier with unwrapped shots because if you can either take the time to settle the baby and get them back to sleep unwrapped, which does take a good amount of time sometimes, or you can just kind of get what you can get with them awake. Since I do so much authentic kind of lifestyle documentary photography, people aren't usually too bothered if the baby's a little, you know, all over the place, and they just like that you can see arms and legs and all the cuteness. All right, and just to talk about the props that I do bring to put the baby in, again, I'm not super prop heavy. I like to keep things timeless whenever I can, but it's the easiest way to do quick setups in people's homes. So I bring a Moses basket always because it's a natural look. You know, I typically will put something lining the basket, a Sherpa or a knit blanket or something like that, and then kind of do both unwrapped and wrapped shots in there at different times depending on the flow with the baby. So that is one I always bring. And then I have a variety of baskets. You probably do too if you're a newborn photographer, but I don't do bowls and buckets and things that you might do more in the studio, but you can if that's what people like and what you like. I do kind of baskets that sort of blend in with the space that we're in. Let's see this one too. And so they're fairly flat, but I will arrange my setup in advance before I go to their home so that I know what I'm doing and I'm not kind of figuring it out on the fly. And then I just pack it with the colors. So this was a pink setup that I just did. So the baby was wrapped in pink. The other thing that you're going to want to bring is going to be stuffers, basket stuffers. You need to prop up the baby. I hope that you know enough about newborn photography to know that the baby needs to be supported. They don't lie flat. You put the pieces behind their head, behind their bum, behind their arms, wherever you need to kind of curl them. When they're wrapped, it's a little easier because they're already curled, but you do need to always make sure their head is supported, their neck is supported properly. And lastly, a question I typically will ask my clients about especially the detail shots is whether they are cozy knit hat people, animal hat people, or if they like things natural, or if they like a mix of both. I have a variety of things. I tend to, again, like more natural, but that does not mean I do not have little animal hats, which are adorable. So I have tons of very fine detailed bows and things that I pretty much will always use on the girls. And then I also have knit hats. I have hats for boys and girls. And I bring all of this again to the consultation so that they can look and feel everything and it's a good way to talk through what their style is, because sometimes people say things and that's not actually what they mean. They just don't have the words for what they're thinking. And a lot of times I'll come in with the things prepared that we talked about on the phone, And once they see other things, they're like, oh no, that's where I want to go. I actually went to a session fairly recently where they had said that they wanted natural, like neutrals and earth tones and knits, and they wanted all this stuff, which is pretty standard for what I offer. And when I got there and they saw some of the things and they looked around their house and she showed me the dress she was wearing, she's completely switched, and we were in like bold turquoise and mustards and like vibrant oranges. So, and that was very much them, and they were so happy that like they felt like they were supposed to like pick this neutral thing because that's what my portfolio showed and that's what they like thought everybody did. But then when they saw that they could kind of personalize it a little bit and make it more them, they were very excited about that. So that just comes down to your own style, what you want to offer. In most cases, people hire you for, what is you and what you're showing and what you're putting out into the world. But I do like to kind of sometimes tuck things into my collection that maybe wouldn't be my first choice, but might be someone else's. All right, well, I hope that information helped you out. I really think that it all comes down to your personal style and what your clients are looking for. Typically, I find that in-home newborn clients want things to be easy, straightforward. They don't want to have to think too much. So the more you can do for them in terms of planning and providing the props and the equipment that you have available, the happier they're going to be in the end. And also keep in mind the length of your session. It is very easy to stretch out a newborn session, and I'm guilty of the same thing. My newborn sessions tend to be 3 to 4 hours, but that's taking into account feedings, diaper changes, any settling that takes a little bit extra time, and I do prep my clients for that ahead of time. But just keeping in mind that people do get tired, and so you want to be able to prioritize your shots, know exactly what you're going in with, have your props ready, have your equipment ready to make it as efficient as possible. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I do have additional resources available if you're interested in learning more and taking your photography business to the next level at www.chelseahickeyphotography.com. If you go to the For Photographers section, if you want to check it out, feel free. If you have any other questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the comments, or if you have any other videos you think I should make, please let me know and I would love to help you out. I hope that your photography business takes off and that you are very successful.